book lovers, welcome to Uncommon Reader. I'm Daniela and today it's Tag Tuesday. I have decided to do this tag, although I had planned to share another video this week, but oh my gosh, these tags are irresistible. And I need to catch up with some of the amazing tags that are going on BookTube right now. So I decided that I was going to do a tag today, another tag. And this one is the Reading Shifts tag created by Hannah at Hannah's Books. I was kindly tagged by Pat at Book Chat with Pat. And here's what Hannah says about this tag. Join me for an original tag about the ways our reading changes over time. Isn't that so good? I love it. So here are the questions, quite lengthy, so hear me out. Question number 1. How has your reading developed over your lifetime? Do the kind of books that bring you the most pleasure now differ from the books you loved most earlier in your life? If you've seen big changes in your reading since you've matured, and what might explain your changing interests? So, wow. So a lot of questions on question number 1. Definitely my reading has changed over time because my approach to reading has changed. Before the pandemic, I was reading, but not as avidly as now. I was busy, I was working, caregiving, and I was just too taken by all the things. So I would read maybe 1 book or 2 books per month or something like that. So, and the books were different because they were more, like mystery books. And I did read heavier books, thought-provoking books before, but I wasn't so invested, I think, in reading. The pandemic changed a lot because I only had books to rely on in terms of escaping reality, right? So they really did good for me. It was amazing therapy, and I also got more interested in going deeper into learning. I felt like I was missing out all these years that I wasn't reading, really feeling what you're reading and not just as an entertainment. And so now I really want to know about the authors I'm reading and their environment, especially if we're talking about a historical novel. I always loved history at school, and I feel like now I'm still learning. So I feel every book I read can give me a life lesson. So I try to take it lightly, but at the same time, I feel it's so enriching. The shift in genres, I think it may have something to do also with age, because I feel when you're younger, maybe you're too focused on your career, yourself, if you have kids. Of course, your kids are priority. I feel now at my age, I can catch up with what I've missed. There's no end to it because there's so much to learn, right? Okay, let's move on to question number 2. Do you find yourself choosing different kinds of books at different periods of the year? For example, do the seasons affect what you read for pleasure? Similarly, might you read very different kinds of books while on vacation? This happens very rarely. I may pick up, like maybe a book for the Halloween season. I did read Frankenstein last year. I may read Dickens' Carol this December. But other than that, no, I think I have some books that are calling for me. And so it might be more about the author and the topic of a book, and I don't focus too much on the season. Question number 3. Do specific experiences in your life ever shape what you choose to read? For example, did you read obsessively about child rearing when your kids were little? I have no kids. And about gardening as spring is about to begin. No gardening for me either. About the experience of grief when someone you love died, etc. The only thing that comes to mind is current affairs, terrorism, wars. And so that makes me want to read more into a specific situation. For example, the Israel and Palestine conflict, that really triggers my interest. Question number 4. Have there been any times in your life when circumstances have limited or changed your reading in some way? Perhaps caretaking responsibilities or a big move that made it hard to find as much time to read as you'd like, or personal illness that made it harder to concentrate, or maybe just long-term travel that might have limited your book choices. How do you deal with those circumstances? No, I think, as I said before, I was just too busy with work, caregiving. Now I don't work as much, and I do my caregiving that gives me free time to read. So I think it's very common for someone with a family to take care of to have limited time. But at the same time, if you really want to read, you make it a priority. You may skip the gym, or you may skip meeting friends. I don't know. It depends. I didn't have this urge to read as a younger adult, although I did read. It wasn't a necessity. Now it has become a necessity because I feel that it really nourishes me. So when I didn't read, it wasn't because I didn't have time. I really didn't need to make time. Question number 5. BookTube is full of discussions on reading slumps, when dedicated readers seem to lose interest for a while in books. Sometimes they just can't find a book that appeals to them. Oh, yeah, I wish. Have you ever experienced a slump? If so, how did you handle it? If not, do you have any advice to give people who are experiencing slumps? Never had, the slumps. I have way too many books that I'm like, I can't wait to read. So that's a very personal situation, but I have 3 different advices. I wrote it down here. So, feel good stories. I always recommend this little book, An Uncommon Reader. I have the Italian version here. And it's a very brief story about Elizabeth II, Queen Elizabeth, falling in love with books at a late age. So that's very entertaining, a very funny story. That makes you feel good. Also, I feel books that talk about books are such a magnet because you will read about different books and then you're like, oh, I haven't read that book. You want to read that. So it's like a chain, that you want to keep reading. I also would recommend reading a book set in your favorite city. For me, for example, it's Paris. So any book set in Paris, I just want to read it because I imagine myself in the book, and it makes me really happy to be reading, Rue this, Rue that. I'm there looking at the Eiffel Tower and I'm a happy camper. So try to read a book set in your favorite city. Question number 6. Booktubers also talk about book hangovers, when readers are so moved by a book that they find it difficult to move on to the next book. Have you ever felt this way? So there are books that stay with me for a long time, but that doesn't make me want not to read the next book, because there are other books that are waiting for me that I find very attractive. But the book that really moved me will still linger. And that's why, sometimes I read a book from the library and it affects me so much that I'll go and buy it, even if I had just read it. Because for me, keeping a book that gave me emotions It's like keeping the photo of a good friend, so you want it around you. So I will cherish it and I'll keep thinking about it. I'll keep recommending it, but then it won't stop me from moving to another story. Last question, number 7. Tell us about a few books that almost always work for you. Something that might have remained a favorite throughout your life despite any changing reading tastes. Something that always seems to hit just the right spot when you need a lift. Or perhaps some lifetime book hangover where the text will always be at the back of your mind. So I did a video tag called 8 Memories tag, books that made me. That was collecting a few books that sort of formed my interests. But I do have to go back to books that I feel were such a heartwarming for me. Little Women, that's gonna stick with you because as a child you are sort of soaking in so much more, and a character like Joe, it will be evergreen. It will be such a role model figure for young girls reading that book. That doesn't mean that you'll keep reading it. I've never reread it, but I do keep thinking about it with such affection. And maybe more right now, I have a few favorites as an adult that will stick with me because they moved me so much. They made me so empathic with certain situations. Reading Lolita in Tehran, it's such an amazing book. I also connect a lot with the authors, Azar Nafizi. I think talked about it in my last video, which was another tag. Azar Nafizi, Emmanuel Carrère, the way that they write for me makes me deeply moved. So I sort of intertwine their books and their ability as authors. So yeah, this is what works for me. And I better stop here because I might just keep saying the same things, going on and on, talking about my favorite authors. So thank you so much for stopping by today, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I look forward to chat with you in the comments. Say hello. And looking forward to see you back here on Uncommon Reader pretty soon. Take care for now, and happy reading. Ciao.